Hello everyone, my name is Amarani Aragon and this PowerPoint presentation will be presented by Victoria Young, Dominic Sturdevan, and myself. We are Group 1 and we were given horse slaughter as our topic. In this presentation, we will be talking about the history of horse slaughter and also give you some background information on it. We will also discuss some of the ethical aspects involved in horse slaughter and also talk about some of the cultural and sociological importance of horse slaughter. We'll also talk about some of the current events that are related to our topic and talk about the reasons why we are against horse slaughter. For this slide, I will be talking about the history of horse slaughter. Horses have always been regarded as companions and sport animals in America. They are also considered as a symbol of our history. While this can be true for many people, unwanted horses in America have become an issue that is somewhat usually controlled by sending unwanted horses to slaughterhouses. For the past 5 to 10 years, the overall demand for horses has been very high, which has caused the breeding of horses to increase in great numbers. This is usually due to the high demand of horse meat consumption that has come from overseas country. Usually, when the demand for horses is low, then the number of unwanted horses increases, regardless of what their bloodline and quality might be. Unwanted horses have become a problem within the domestic equine population. The issue of the large number of unwanted horses in the U.S. first came to light following the 2001 foot and mouth disease epidemic in Europe. The European consumers' concern with eating beef resulted in an increase in their consumption of horse meat. Media attention was brought to the fact that horses were being processed for meat in the United States and exported for human consumption to Europe. Many of the horses that are sent to horse slaughter facilities may be healthy horses that owners could no longer care for or they could no longer feed. They were considered too dangerous to handle, or they were a danger to other animals or other horses, or they simply were not wanted anymore. In many cases, these horses have multiple owners. They have been shipped from place to place and have ultimately been rejected of any sort of responsibility or long-term care. Nearly 20 years ago, there were up to 14 horse slaughter plants operating in the United States. Between 1992 and 2007, approximately 75 to 150 horses of the domestic equine population in the United States were sent to slaughterhouses to be slaughtered each year. For this slide, I will be talking about the ethical aspect of horse slaughter. Much debate against horse slaughter has been talked about by many in the United States. While horse slaughter is considered necessary due to the high amount of unwanted horses in the U.S., the treatment and environment in which horses are kept in are considered to be unethical and torturous. Slaughterhouses are not clean or green enterprises, and these facilities have proven to be environmentally damaging as well as economically draining to the communities that have housed them. Horses who are born for slaughter are commonly shipped for more than 24 hours at a time in crowded trucks without food, water, or rest. Many of the methods that are used to kill horses rarely result in quick, painless deaths for these animals, and sometimes they even remain conscious during dismemberment.
Hello class, my name is Victoria Yang, and today I'm going to be discussing and touching on a topic, specifically horses and their culturological and sociological significances. Horses signify many things amongst different cultures around the world. Freedom is what's commonly referenced when speaking of horses because it is believed that riding one may actually make you feel free in some situations. The term horse culture has now been around for ages, defining the community in which they breed and herd these horses. in American history, horses actually began their expansion by becoming one of the most recognizable animals today, being that they were utilized in many ways. For example, pulling wagons and transporting goods, and also being used in war. All of this was back in the days. As of today, horses are still being used to transport goods and whatnot, but not as often since we have vehicles at the moment. Today, horses are mostly used for entertainment and sports. Back in the days, horses provided almost all transportation power, as well as being used in World War I, when the U.S. sent over 1.1 million horses to Europe. Animals, such as horses, have evolved from being used to transport goods to today, where horses signify a much more deeper meaning. They signify peace, loyalty, compassion, independence, as they are now being used as therapy animals. Horses help those who suffer from ADD or anxiety. In therapy, they usually have the patient groom the horse. It may become empowering for kids since it does keep them calm, which is how and why it does help when you do have someone who has ADD. Now, personally, I actually have an older brother of my own who suffers from ADD. And recently, my mother bought a house up in the countryside, and our neighbors, no, we do not have any animals yet, but our neighbors actually have some horses, and my brother actually went up to these horses, and he was pretty scared at first, even though he's a grown man. He was scared, and when he finally had the courage to go up and pet it, he described the feeling of him being really calm, and seeing how the horse reacted really made him feel like he had a special connection with the horse, and it actually calmed him down. So it's really interesting to see how animals like horses can make such a huge difference in one's life.
Hi, my name is Dominic Sturdivant, and I'm going to be talking about some current events and statistics surrounding the topic of horse slaughter and the severe unwanted horse problem currently existing in the United States. I'll also be giving a recap of why horse slaughter exists, why it should be abolished, and some possible alternatives and solutions to the problem. So, the most recent slaughterhouses in the U.S. were located in both Texas and Illinois, and there were 3 of them, all of which were shut down in 2007. In 2015, the EU actually banned the import of horse meat from Mexico. This was due to the fact that it was nearly impossible to detect whether or not this meat would be safe for consumption by humans. Shortly after, an advocacy group called Animals Angels began an investigation into horse slaughter in Canada and concluded that inhumane and illegal treatment of horses bound for slaughter is rampant. And then in 2017, an amendment was nearly passed to reopen horse slaughter plants in the United States. This was barely prevented as there were 27 members of Congress who voted against it and 25 who supported it, according to USA Today. Only 1 year later, in 2018, the ban on horse slaughter in the United States was set to expire. However, the ban was renewed as it was included in a spending bill signed by Donald Trump. In recent years, there have been well over 100,000 horses being killed in slaughterhouses annually between Canada and Mexico. According to a recent study done by the USDA, 92.3% of horses sent to slaughterhouses are in good condition. This means that they are capable of living out a productive life and simply could not be provided for any longer by their owners. A recent national poll found that now nearly 70% of Americans support a federal ban to end horse slaughter for consumption. Now I'm going to give a quick summary of why horse slaughter currently exists. My first 2 points are big contributing factors to the third point. Firstly, overbreeding has become a big problem in the U.S. because people are breeding more horses than can be sold on the market. The unsold horses quickly become a liability rather than an asset for the breeders, so they are anxious to get them off of their hands. These horses are often sold to kill buyers, who are basically the middlemen that transport the unwanted horses over the border to slaughterhouses. Secondly, many individuals do not understand the sheer amount of time and money that it takes to raise a healthy horse, resulting in neglected horses. These both contribute to the severe unwanted horse problem in the United States. The amount of unwanted horses is much more than can be handled by rescue facilities with their existing funding. Taking care of horses through a natural death can also be extremely expensive, especially if they contract an illness or get injured. And although it seems to be dwindling in many places, there is still a large market for horse meat in certain foreign countries. Now for why horse slaughter should be abolished. Firstly, horse slaughter should not be seen as humane euthanasia because it is not. These horses are treated poorly leading up to their death and die alone and afraid. Slaughterhouses have also been shown to have negative environmental effects on the surrounding land, polluting water and producing foul smells. Consequently, this lowers property value. Also, it costs millions of dollars per year to regulate these slaughterhouses. The resources being used to regulate horse slaughter could be better spent on important food and product regulation for human consumption. There is also not a real market for horse meat in the United States any longer. Horses are commonly exposed to drugs and other substances that are forbidden for use in animals for food, which means that they can be unsafe for consumption by humans. Also, horses in the U.S. are bred for sport, work, or companionship, not for food. This again makes horse meat very hard to regulate since they all have very unique backgrounds. Many other countries and religions have actually shunned the consumption of horse meat. I'd like to conclude this by offering a few different alternatives and solutions to the horse slaughter and the unwanted horse problem in the United States. Firstly, potential horse owners need to be better informed about the large cost of both time and money that it takes to care for a horse for its whole life. Also, strict regulations need to be put in place to regulate horse breeders and prevent them from breeding horses on such a massive scale. Increased awareness and education about horse slaughter and unwanted horses in the U.S. would hopefully increase the funding for horse rescue facilities that can give horses a second chance rather than sending them to be slaughtered. Also, increased implementation of horse training programs that prepare horses for adoption could save horse lives as well. Some of these programs even employ inmates as trainers, which is mutually beneficial for both the horse and the human. Thank you.